I was like, shit, this guy's a Leafs fan. Like, I'm gonna have nothing to talk to this guy.
Sure.
Just sort of summing him up already in my mind. And then he came over and he was like, "Hey, I just want to say, like that song you sang about your daughter." And he was a big guy, like looked pretty tough and stuff. And he's like, "That song you sang about your daughter was really sort of hit home." He said, "I have a friend recently who his daughter is also in the hospital." And as he's telling me the story, it starts to tear up, like in his eyes, and
Yeah.
I can see it. And I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "This is what it's all about."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this kind of moment where you realize, like, playing music or putting yourself out there in that way, it's about those moments where you realize, like, you kind of have to get out of the way of yourself and something just kind of happens through you, like
Yeah.
beyond your skill or ability or anything else. You're just something kind of magical. You're sort of like a vessel for something really cool that happens. And man, to be a part of that,
Yeah.
night in and night out is just, I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. You know what I mean?
Welcome, fellow lushes. Come on in, pull up a bar stool, and enjoy some cocktails with Dimples and the Beard.
Well. Oh, guess what? Tavern's on. Tavern is on.
No. On.
The tavern is now open.
Tavern is now open. Welcome back, fellow lushes.
I can't wait
Another
till we
episode
have
of Cocktails with Dimples and the Beard. And Dimples can't wait for
when we have our chain of bars.
We're gonna have a chain of bars.
Cocktails with Dimples and the Beard.
Is that your first when the money starts to roll in? That's how
We're
you're
gonna
gonna
open a bar.
invest.
We're gonna open a bar.
Can I
And we're
launder
gonna
my
open a chain?
Can I launder my drug money through your bar?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Why else would you have
Cool.
a bar like that?
I like it.
And then when we have a chain of them across the country, just gotta think of the decor.
Do you think the cool kids would hang out at our bar?
Would you hang out?
It would be a cool bar. It would be Cocktails with Dimples and the Beard, flashing neon signs. There'd be
I would have bet you'll be 21 by the time we open it.
dancing girls.
Hey,
on
look at
the
that.
bar.
She's wearing Grandpa's vest.
You just have to get like good deals, you know? People love a deal.
Well, young
people love the deal.
I think everyone loves a deal.
That's true.
I love the deal that keeps the young drunks out of my bar. That's the deal I love.
Yeah, that's fair.
So $10 Manhattans.
There you go.
That's our special.
If you like this content that we're doing right now, which is amazing, do us a favor, like, share, subscribe. That's the best thing you can do is subscribe. Share is the best thing you can do. I take that back. No, wait, I take that back. No, sharing would be the best thing you can do. Like and share. That's great. Leave a comment. Please leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love talking with you. We'll respond. Please give us a name. Call us a name. Call us an ass smacker if we want.
I am an ass smacker.
But let's talk about it.
May I
comment? Let's talk about it.
May I interject?
Interject.
May I interject? May I correct you?
Oh, God.
Your facts?
My facts.
Technically, because I want them to do the thing that is most likely to help us out. I mean, first and foremost, subscribe. We need the subscriber numbers up. But secondly, the biggest thing for the algorithm is to comment. Put a comment in there. Yes, that's the one that drives it back. Then YouTube thinks that people are excited about it. And
I
that's
understand, but we want to share.
So, well, yeah, right. They're all important. But when it comes to the YouTube algorithm, do you want to get money or? Okay. Comment. Share with your friends. Shit. There, we saluted. I mean, we salute. We got.
I would like you to share with people you don't like. Just share it with them so they say, "What? Why are you sharing this with me? I don't even like you. Why would you share?"
Yeah, but then if you share it with somebody who doesn't like you, they're not going to go fucking.
They're going to be like,
it.
"I don't." Why would they do this? They're going to watch it. And they're going to fall in love.
They're going to fall in love.
We got a musician tonight, so it's not always ladies.
It's not always ladies.
We got a dude on tonight.
We got another good-looking dude on tonight. We've
To be fair, the dude looks like a lady,
had
but he doesn't. He does.
dude.
Well, you decide for yourself. Watch to the end, because that's when he takes off his mask and reveals his true self.
Reveals that he's not Matty McKechnie. He's Matilda McKechnie.
He might be.
This is not a nice intro.
Well, I don't know what kind of intro it is. We're just babbling. We're babbling.
We're going to talk to somebody from Canada tonight, and they don't like to be mean.
They're not mean.
No.
Are we mean? Was that mean? Do you
I
feel
don't
what
know.
was that mean? We're just having fun.
Felt a little mean,
Oh, I just thought it was fun.
but
We're just having fun.
what are you drinking anyway?
I am drinking gin and cranberry juice.
You got a UTI?
Trying to get rid of it
Okay. That makes sense.
because I have no reason other than I felt like gin and I had cranberry in the juice.
Well, there's a lot of pine trees in Canada.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Gin is pine.
He never suggested it. He might have suggested a drink at the beginning.
He didn't. Well, we did. We just said beer because he's a beer drinker.
Oh yeah.
So the beer is. Yes. Oof. This probably wouldn't go over in Canada though. A Hefeweizen, and they probably don't.
It's a pussy beer.
Yeah, it's not for them big lumber mountain jacks up there, whatever they're called.
Real beer.
Yeah,
Real heavy beer.
Mountain Jack.
What is a good Canadian beer?
What is that one?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. You're very helpful. Appreciate that.
Well, if I lived in Canada, considering it's winter like 13 months out of the year, I would most likely drink a lot of stout.
What do they call cigarettes up there?
No, that's in
I think it's Stags.
Did you just try and get me to say the?
Yeah,
I did too. I think, but that's to be fair though, they do call them fags in
London.
In London, yes, so,
they do. That's
I think you're okay with that word as long as you don't end up.
As long as you
can't
explain what you're talking. We're talking about cigarettes.
That and you don't want to got them, if you know what I mean. You don't want to got. No gotting.
But for a brief moment, I was like, yeah, well, there's something in Canada too. Is it Stag?
No. I have no idea.
We can ask them.
I've never been to Canada, I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. So
I was in Canada once.
Really?
Work.
Yeah. For work?
Yeah.
They let you back?
In, plant, out.
That's it?
Oh yeah. Flew up there for one day, came back the next day. We stayed overnight. We didn't. Yeah.
But you didn't go anywhere?
No, it's a funny story.
I bet it's not.
I don't know if people know me. I changed my name. and I was married. And there was a problem with my name change when I was trying to get a passport to fly out of the country.
You changed your name because you got married?
No.
You took your wife's name?
And then I got married.
You took your wife's name?
No, but I got teased for a different reason. And the quickest and easiest way for me to get, I didn't really need a passport to get, is to go in, say I lost my driver's license, show them my birth certificate to my original name. So my birth certificate matched my driver's license when I flew. And then when I got back, make everything right. Okay.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. But the funny part was, so I'm ready to leave. I'm packing. I'm like, oh, by the way, I showed it to my wife. Apparently we have a different name. So I'm not married. So I'm in Canada. I'm a single man.
Probably took advantage of it too, didn't you?
She didn't think it was very funny. No. I thought it was funny. Well, here we go. We never want to keep a
talented musician.
Talented man.
Rugged.
Waiting.
All right. So without further ado, well, I'm going to get this wrong. Matty McKechnie.
Well, hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How we doing, man?
Good. Can you guys see me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
We can see you.
Okay.
Can hear you.
Can you hear me?
You bet.
We always want brighter light, the better. We want to see you.
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
How are you tonight?
Doing all right, man. Good. What's going on where you guys are at?
Just another night of this, this has become like a 3-night-a-week project at this point now.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's turned into a lot. So
yeah, you're always having people on, and I think I'm probably the best looking person you've had on.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Can't even argue.
Other than the host, you are it. So we're joined by
you decide which
you
one.
guys are lookers. No, you guys are. I mean, I see all the beautiful women that you have on, and I'm like, geez, I feel honored amidst all these stunning people. I'm just sort of, Canadian dad doing his musical thing, and so I'm happy to be here chatting with you dudes.
And that's what we're all about. Just chatting with some cool people, learning about you, hearing some stuff, and go from there. So appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. So thank you, Matty McKechnie. Musical name Graven. We gotta start with that. Where does Graven come from? And I know there's a song on the Simple Complex album that kind of goes over a little bit what it is, and I like that feeling that it is what you need it to be. But where did it come from?
Yeah, man. So Graven just came from going to school at the University of Guelph here in Canada, just close to Toronto.
Okay.
Guelph is a funny name because Norm Macdonald talked about it because Jane Fonda was on his show, and she goes, "Oh, I filmed this movie in Guelph," and he's from Canada, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I know where Guelph is, but I always thought it's a funny name of a town because it sort of sounds like throw up or like vomit or something."
Yeah,
it does Guelph, but anyways,
and Norm is R.I.P., but he's one of the best.
Genius.
Totally, I love him so much. I watch all of his stuff on repeat. But yeah, Graven was like this idea. Like I grew up in church, so I went to a lot of churches as a kid, like Christian family. And I knew the word graven from the Bible was like, anything made by human hands. So like an idol or some kind of statue or something. Like there's a verse, I think, in the Old Testament that says, "No graven image shall come before me," which means you can't make an idol or a statue that goes in front of God. But I didn't want it to be associated with that. So I was like, I thought about the word, and I was like, oh, it's kind of an interesting word because if you slice it down the middle, it's like half of it is gravity, and then the other half is heaven. So it's like, as humans, we're sort of stuck in one world, but you're always thinking about another one or something. So that's where it came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you in church? Were you in the choir? Did you sing for it? Is that where you got some of your music background?
I didn't really sing in the choir or anything, but yeah, I did some worship music for sure at different churches, and was a worship leader for a long time, leading people to the Lord. But I did that for quite a while, and I slowly just learned guitar through my brother and different friends, and I could, I think 13 or 14, I could move one finger around enough to play "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple.
Nice.
Is that all it takes?
Just classic.
All you gotta be able to do is move one finger for that song?
To play that song, that's basically it.
God damn it. I gotta figure this out.
You got it. You can do it, man. And then a friend, I think of my brother's, was like, "Hey, I can show you a couple chords." Then it was just sort of off from there, and I never really took lessons or anything. It just sort of learned by rote, like over time, learned by experience, I should say.
Sure.
And yeah, I didn't. Church music definitely saturated my mind, and I was immersed in music through it. But yeah, I didn't really take lessons. I wasn't trained classically. I still can't read music, but I can play enough, that I can play basically most basic rock instruments like piano, drums, like keyboards, guitars, bass. But I can't do them exceptionally well. I can do them enough to get by.
They're all self-taught. You never had lessons in any of them?
No, I had maybe piano lessons for a year or two when I was like 8 or 9.
Okay.
But you can only play Claire de Lune so many times before you're like, what am I doing with my life at that age? You're like, how does this relate to me?
Yeah. It is fun to watch. So I have a young daughter who's learning piano right now. She's in her first year of piano. She's got her second recital in a couple of weeks. So it's fun to watch and how much progress she's made in such a short time. So I love
that's great, man.
Yeah.
How old did you say your daughter is?
She's 7, almost 8.
Oh, cute. Nice. That's the same. So my daughter's 6. So
okay.
I get it.
Yeah. I definitely had that in some of my research that I wanted to talk to you a little bit about. being an older single dad, because I'm in the same spot, and it's
Right.
it's a crazy world. When I mean, I'll drop her off and get called grandpa a lot because of the gray hair and the
Yeah.
And I call
know.
him that half the time anyway. So.
yeah.
Love it. You guys are great. Yeah, it's true. It's weird being an older single dad. So she's 6, I'm 46. And so yeah, we'll always be 40 years apart, which is a bit strange. But everyone goes down their different paths in different ways. And I'm like thankful in some ways too that it's worked out the way it did, because I think if I was in another relationship or working a different job that I really hated, I wouldn't be able to do music full time. It's just sort of the way the cookie crumbled in life. And so I'm definitely lucky in that regard. But yeah, I feel you, man. It's the just being an older and being a single dad, like it's fun sometimes, but then you're just sort of, the one at the school functions or the, right. I'm kind of like, I have a beard. I look a little maybe different. And I, there's a lot of cookie cutter parents there's a lot of government workers in Ottawa, Canada, around here's the capital. And so who have steady 9-to-5 jobs. And I'm like, I'm self-employed. Sometimes I work, and sometimes I have some days off, like my schedule's all over the place, and I'll show up wearing a hoodie with a, hot sauce stain on it or something. And I'm like, hey, what's up? You know how it is.
I do. I feel you.
And I'm in the opposite. I'm not the cookie cutter, but I have a grandson that is this age of, within the range of your daughters.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's fun, man.
It is fun. It's a really different path, but it's still great.
Yeah, it's great. So are you both dads?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. So yours is 8, and how old is yours, Dean?
I'm Dean. He's Kev. That's Kevin.
You're Dean. Okay, you're Dean. You're Kev. Sorry, man.
Yep.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, so he's my grandson's 8.
Oh wow. Okay.
And right. So my son's 32, and then I have a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old.
Cool.
So I'm all
nice.
yeah. So I put all that behind me. So he's got a parent all the time, and I just spoil now and send him home.
That's fun. Yeah, 20 and 32, they basically have their own fully formed lives. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Which is just, as you'll know, it's just great to watch. It's just great to watch.
Yeah.
As they grow up.
Yeah, that's really fun. And what city are you guys in?
We're in Neenah, Wisconsin.
Oh, no way. So cool.
Yeah.
I just got played on a Wisconsin station the other day, because there's this program called Out of the Woods. It's like this station, this program. And anyways, it's like kind of acoustic folky stuff that this guy curates, and it's a syndicated show. So it gets played on, I think, about 100 stations across the US, a couple in Canada. And there was 1 or 2 stations in Wisconsin. So I'll look them up after and send them to you. Because yeah.
Probably Madison, I'm guessing.
Yep. Yeah. Madison, possibly.
Probably.
College town.
Speaking of college,
for sure.
Did you play gigs in college, during college? I mean, you're learning your music. When did you get your chops to play?
I was playing a bit. Like, I played in some other bands where I was the side guy. Like, I played bass in a band called Crushing Shelbyville with a few friends, because we were big Simpsons fans.
Yeah.
And when Mr. Burns builds that sun blocking machine that knocks down, it's supposed to, they're like, oh, we crushed Shelbyville. So that was like a 3-piece band with a couple friends. That was really fun rock. But again, the other guys, we were all sort of from churches and from camps, and we played a lot of Christian gigs. We weren't really like pushing for it. That was 22, 23, somewhere in there. But we were really good. Like, we were a tight band, but just the other guys really didn't have the ambition to, go play in bars, go out and just do it. We were just sort of doing it here and there where we could. And I played in another band called Sunkissed Kayla a bit later, where there was 2 female singers, Julie and Marilee, who were sisters, and it was really fun. And I was the guitarist, and sang harmony and stuff from time to time. And I played for someone named Ali McCormick, and we toured all across Canada together. And so I was used to being a side person, but in terms of like really pushing the Graven thing, I would put out an album here or there and then just kind of let it go. And for a long time, I wasn't really doing much with it. It was really just a side project. And different people would say, hey, you should really do your own thing. And I didn't always have the confidence. Like I didn't always want to be the central focus, like on stage and stuff. And what performing was something that didn't always come easy to me. Like I still have anxiety. I still, can struggle with that sometimes. But over the years, as you guys know, like you just get into doing something, and the more, whatever, 10,000 hours that you put into it, you feel more comfortable and in your skin. So I just kind of kept doing it, and certain pathways just sort of kept opening up by me sort of sticking with it, and then saying, okay, well, I really should get a band together, I guess, to play my own music. Yeah, I really should try and push it to a different level. I really should try and do this. So it all sort of happened. I forget the original question, but am I answering what you're asking? Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's just a great story you're going through, and we're gonna. Hey, if I didn't ask it, I probably would have.
Oh, great! There you go. Yeah,
so it's
I
just
think so.
Your history,
free flow. You guys are free flowing.
Yeah,
Love
for
it.
sure.
Yeah. So I think that as I took the leap and said, you know what, I really want to do music full time. I'm going to try and do this. This was really early COVID that I lost a part-time gig, then I lost another part-time job where I was booking music for this club in Ottawa called Bar Robo, really sweet little spot. And I said, I guess I could do it now, because what I was doing up to that point were some live streams. Like I was doing Instagram lives, and I was doing a little bit on Twitch and like Facebook Live and stuff.
Sure.
And I thought, well, everybody's home. People don't have anything to do. I'll try and do some streams and see how it worked. And for the first while, I just stuck with the time. Like I said, I'm going to take one. I think it was Fridays I started doing it at like 9 p.m. I was like, Friday nights at 9, I'm going to do it for an hour. And even if no one comes, it'll just give me some time to practice and go through some songs and sing, and so that was kind of fun. And then it just sort of turned into something. And at different times during during COVID and during the lockdowns, I was, I'd have like 3 or 4 up to like 15, 20 people watching. And at one point it was like over 100 that were coming on my live streams that were watching. It was great. And people were leaving tips and stuff too.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. And so I just kept doing it. And then when things started to open, I started playing little shows in people's yards, and they would, book me and say, well, what kind of ticket price would you want, or what would you want to do? And I set up a couple here in my neighborhood, and it was fun. And then I sort of saw back to originally what I was talking about, taking the leap. Like I thought, in life, if you think that you're supposed to do something, a lot of times you won't really know until you actually take the leap and try it.
That's
you
so
can
true.
sit around and like prophesy and prophesize. No, you can sit around and like just think about all the potential failures and pitfalls that can happen, or how it's not going to work. But until you actually take the leap, you won't really know.
Yeah.
And you also won't know who, if there are like people who really support you out there too, because that's what I found is like, once I took the leap, there were just sort of people showing up and saying like, hey, we dig your stuff. Like people I didn't even know, friends of friends, and online too, people who are connected to me, and saying like, it's really cool what you're doing. We want to support you. So that was a really good lesson. And like, take the leap if you feel like you're supposed to do something. And guess what? Even if you fail, you're still alive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's okay to fail.
You know, that's right.
And
Exactly.
I feel, I mean, I'm sure I can speak for both of us when we say we feel that, because this thing was, you know, at least a year in the process before we actually sat down in front of a microphone and started talking. So, you know,
that's cool.
We think back now and go, gee, we could have another 50 episodes under our belt and be that much farther down the road. But
we took the leap. Yeah. Like you said, that's exactly right.
It took us a while to finally, and like a lot of people, I think the pandemic was the kick in the ass. Like what you know?
Yeah. What else are we going to?
Yeah, it's true. So can you get,
go ahead.
Can you swear on your podcast? I heard you.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I heard you sort of self-fuck. Okay, good. Fucking right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to ask?
Well, I was going to say, so did you ever have a 9-to-5 job?
I did. Yeah. I had several that I was never really good at, and I hated all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I worked in a lumber yard for about 6 years. I worked delivering eggs for a couple of years. I worked in construction. I actually went to school for journalism, so I was trying to do that for a while, and I was trying to do, you know, go down that road, and I went to school for English, so I got a degree in English from Guelph, and I was like, I don't want to be an English teacher. What the fuck am I going to do with this?
I'm sorry. Every time you say you went to university at Guelph, I feel like we're talking to Harry Potter or something. It
does sound like that.
We played
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never even seen Harry Potter.
I haven't either.
Hearing Norm say that about Guelph changed my view of it forever. I'm like, oh my God, he's so right. It's like, and of course, you know, being Norm, he didn't say vomit or something. I think he said throw up. Because it sounds like throw up. And I'm like, who the hell says throw up? Anyway, the best.
Norm. Yeah.
Yeah, Norm did. But yeah, I did lots of jobs, and I post about that sometimes. It's like a reminder to me, saying that like I've never felt like any other job I've had has been the right fit. You know, there's always things where I'm like, oh yeah, I can do it. There's certain aspects that are okay. There are certain things that I can fit into. Like I'm a fairly adaptable human being. As a musician, you kind of have to be that way. You sort of roll with the punches, and you're on tour in different towns, and you're kind of like, oh, well, this isn't going to work. Okay, we'll just roll with it. So you kind of have that built in. So that worked with being able to work different jobs. But yeah, that feeling of deep down, like I, you know, had friends who are engineers or doing different careers, working in addictions counseling or whatever, that they were like, this is, you know, I love this. This is what I want to do. It's my ultimate dream. I never felt that, you know, in any job.
Until now.
Not even working in journalism, like until now. Exactly. And when I started doing this, I was like, oh, shit, like this exists. I didn't think that, you know, I didn't think that people could do this in life. I thought a job was always something that you hated. So yeah, it really turned the lights on in some ways. And what about you guys? Do you like both of your respective jobs and what you do?
No. No, 1,000% no. It's funny, we had
today I don't, but normally I do.
we recently had Matt Vincent on, and he's motivational kind of fitness guy. And
put you in your place, man.
He did put me in my place, because I had been watching him, and I kept telling him every time I watched the speech that he gave, I was ready to go and quit and you know, move on to something else. He's like, well, have you ever thought about it from maybe you need to change something where you are to make it better where you are than to just quit? I'm like, fuck you, god damn it.
He threw back at you by going, when's the last time you learned something new at your current job? When's the last time you did something so he which I think
it's all perspective.
I think about today. So
it is. But also I agree with Matt to some respect, but also, man, sometimes you just need to fucking quit.
And sometimes you just know, right. And that's like, I've been doing the same thing for 25 years. I know, you know, I know it's not what I want to be doing anymore, but I know it's what I'm going to do until retirement. So I'm okay with that.
Fair. But it's I mean, I know that I'm in a real like lucky position too. And I you know, don't take it lightly. Like I I guess I've put out like 15 or 16 albums or EPs and stuff, but a lot of those were side projects, as I said, side hustles when
Early
I was
ones, yeah.
working other jobs, and just put stuff online and do this here and there. And then, so really for about three plus years now, I've been doing it full time. And I can say, like, it is extremely hard, like in our climate, as a self, starter musician, as someone, I don't have representation, I don't have a label, I don't have an agent, I have nothing. But it's ultra fucking rewarding.
Yeah.
When you play in a room to, like, you're like, oh man, I thought there was going to be whatever X amount of people here and only this amount showed up. But then all these people decide to, buy a bunch of your merch, or someone comes up to you. Not even that. It's not even the money aspect. It's like someone will come up after a song and you thought, I've had this happen a couple times now where I thought I sort of played it shittily, or didn't really give it its best, or I screwed something up and I'm like, fuck, I screwed up the fingering of that chord. Everybody noticed. Of course, they rarely ever do.
Right.
But you
feel like they're all looking at you, laughing at you.
That's right.
Nobody 100%. Knows.
I have massive imposter syndrome. It's something I work at constantly. So, but yeah. And then after that has happened, it's funny how, like, one time in particular, I played this show in Toronto. My friend Megan just played before me, and she was nominated for a Juno, which is like Canadian Grammys. Yeah. So,
part of them,
which was really, really cool. I was really proud of her, and she's amazing, Megan Nash. So we played this show in Toronto, and then I was like, oh, I had to play, and I was just feeling not confident and not myself, and feeling sort of, bummed out. And I was like, I'm going to play this new song about my daughter, because at the start of her life, she was a little bit sick. She was in CHEO, which is like the sick kids hospital up here, and for about a month. And she's fine now. Everything is great.
Oh,
it was
good to hear.
like a weird blip on the radar. Yeah, thanks, man. And so, but it's kind of a, heartwarming song. I was like, I'm going to end it with this, because I felt through the whole set I was just not into it. I wasn't having a good time, and I fucked up a few things, I think, in remembering words or whatever, and very down on myself. So I went over to the bar at this place we were playing at as a finish, and I was like, oh God, I'm glad that's over, And then this guy comes up to me with a whole bunch of he's maybe in his, I want to say, early 60s or something, and he's wearing all Toronto Maple Leafs stuff. And I'm not a big Leafs fan, being from Ottawa. It's okay, whatever people cheer for, I'm all for it. But I was like, shit, this guy's a Leafs fan. Like, I'm gonna have nothing to talk to this guy.
Sure.
Just sort of summing him up already in my mind. And then he came over and he was like, hey, I just want to say, like, that song you sang about your daughter, and he was a big guy, like, looked pretty tough and stuff. And he's like, that song you sang about your daughter was really sort of hit home. He said, I have a friend recently who, his daughter is also in the hospital. And as he's telling me the story, it starts to tear up, like in his eyes, and I can see it. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like this kind of moment where you realize, like, playing music or putting yourself out there in that way, it's about those moments where you realize, like, you kind of have to get out of the way of yourself, and something just kind of happens through you, like beyond your skill or ability or anything else. You're just something kind of magical. You're sort of like a vessel for something really cool that happens. And man, to be a part of that night in and night out is just, I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. You know what I mean?
That's why we go to music, is to get away and hopefully connect on certain songs. Everybody's got their favorite songs of certain bands or artists. And even, I think, to me, it's a bonus where I go to somebody new and can connect on a song that I've never heard before. That's, to me, is like golden.
Is the song you're talking about Sloan? Is that
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Good job, man.
Yeah. Well, when I was doing, we were, top secret. We were supposed to do this a month or two ago or whatever. And things so I got back to my research when we sat down tonight and I looked at it. I'm like, oh yeah, he wrote that song about his daughter I remember listening to and being touched by it, having a young daughter and being, so yeah, I get it, and that's how so many, like, I love Blue October, the band Blue October, and
okay.
So much of it is the lyrics just touch home on so much of the stuff. So it's when songs hit you like that, they just, I get that.
And you're bringing
thanks,
that to
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I try definitely. And it's a struggle sometimes, like, it's risky and financially you kind of have to back yourself, put yourself out there. And sometimes it's like being a salesman where you have very little coming in for a while financially, and then you sort of get a big chunk and then you have to sustain for a while. So it's learning all of that and immersing yourself into that lifestyle and being like, okay, it sort of is like, I think being an artist in any way, anywhere in the world is like feast or famine.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you go long periods where you're like, what am I doing? Should I get the fuck out of this? And then
so you're pounding the pavement yourself. You're doing the work. You're doing all that and trying to write songs. So you're juggling both that. How do you find time to write songs or use to write songs other than obviously your daughter, because she's right there with you? But you can't write every song with your daughter. Well, I guess you could.
You could.
No, you could, but no, I try not to. It gets a bit old. Like if I'm the guy, if you're the guy at the show where you're like, and this next one is also
and another one from my daughter.
Yeah, this one's about her favorite teddy bear. So you can't. After a while, it gets old. But I think that writing songs is, for me, again, that term comes up a lot. But feast or famine is also the way it goes. Like I'm someone who I don't have like a regular writing schedule. Like I'm, sometimes I have merch or records or things that I need to ship out. Like I shipped some stuff out yesterday, or sometimes I need to do admin stuff where I'm just spending time on the computer, booking, promoting stuff that I have upcoming.
It takes time.
It's a lot. It's a lot of time. But writing for me, luckily, is something that I can go like weeks or months without a song idea. But luckily I have a pretty healthy backlog of stuff. And when I do get song ideas, they tend to come like a bunch at a time. I won't use them all, right? I won't release them all, but sometimes in a weekend, I might get 8 songs that sort of all come together, and I'm like, holy shit, okay, yeah, I think 4 of these are actually okay.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm lucky that way. And I think that however that works, whether it's from years and years of being at university and reading tons of books, which, I went to school for English and I had to read so many fucking Charles Dickens books that I'm still getting to the point now at 46 where I'm like, okay, I'm sort of starting liking reading again because I hated having to read
so much.
Like,
yeah.
You got to read this 900-page book in 2 weeks, right? It's like, fuck. The Pickwick Papers or something, where it's just some old, bespectacled writer who you're like, I don't relate to this guy at all.
You could just hire yourself a surrogate reader.
Yeah, that's true. Do you guys do that?
I'm not going to call anybody out, but
oh, nice. Are you a big reader?
No, that's why I hired someone to read for me and give me the clip notes.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's smart. But I think
Thank you.
I'm starting.
We won't tell you for who. I won't say. We won't mention for why.
We've only had one author.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey man, I think for an author, I interviewed an author, so I have a podcast on.
Yeah, let's get into that. That's awesome.
Graventown. I'll have you guys on too sometime. That'd be great.
Awesome.
But yeah, I love that. But I interviewed an author a couple months ago And I felt the same way, right? Going to school for English too, and then I went to school for journalism. This guy was a journalist too, and he writes kind of apocalyptic fiction.
Oh,
not really my style, but an incredible writer. But I felt the same way, almost as you did. I was sort of like, oh shit, this is like intimidating because you don't want to get things wrong, but most people are they understand, and they just want to. They mostly want to chat about other stuff anyways, which is why this interview is so cool, because you guys are just free flowing, and they're not, when you go on radio and stuff, sometimes they're like,
everything's already laid out.
It's so laid out, and it's all on a clock, right? And they're like, so tell me specifically about the, like the meaning of this particular bridge in this song, or the, what, I don't know. I'm trying to think of rote words, and most of the time they end up getting something wrong. Like they're like, and now from Ottawa, we have on our show Matty McKechnie, and here he is, Graven. Good to see you, buddy. And I'm like, but I don't care, right? However they say it, it's like,
right.
I'm not going to correct people, but
like
it's always
like the song says, it is what you need it to be, right? So if you want to call
that's right, man. You've done this guy's done his research. I don't know about you. He didn't have a surrogate listener.
I did not have a surrogate listener. No.
Your stuff. This is your stuff on my own.
That's amazing, man. Amazing.
So
you're doing great.
Which I went back to. I wanted to, like I said, talk about Graventown, your podcast, and one of the questions is, not every episode you have a guest. Sometimes you're by yourself.
That's true.
I have not listened to every episode yet.
Don't worry about it.
But I'm getting through it. So how do you pick guests and topics? Talk about without guests.
That's another thing too. Is like I've been kind of in a slump with everything the last couple months, and I sort of got off the road and had something happen with my eye, and it was almost like the universe was saying, you need to slow down for a bit. And the podcast is something that has really taken a back seat, which I'm sure you guys can appreciate, because it takes so much fucking time, right?
Yeah.
To edit it, to do it. Like I respect you guys doing it, because it's like every episode.
Right.
People think, oh, it's so cool. You go into this basement and you just talk and do it. It's not like you talk and then like magically edits itself and shoots it into the ether sphere. Right. It's so much time. So
or get people to come on and
go
back and back and
set up. So I guess that's why I was going to say with guests, I try and think about people who would be free flowing. I do try to front load it. Like I try to have a bunch of questions ready, but then like you guys, same thing. Like I'll go down rabbit holes too, and they talk about something interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, talk about that. That's cool. Yeah. And I almost prefer that style. So I just think about people who would be, sort of engaging. Like I've talked to an author. I talk to mostly musicians most of the time, because, it's what I can relate to, and songwriting, and like, oh, I like this idea in this song. And I think when other songwriters talk to other songwriters, it's kind of fun, because they feel like they're sort of talking to their people. Like they can open up a bit and be like, oh yeah, he gets it. Like he understands how a chorus can sort of be weird for a time, and then just something clicks, and you're like, oh yeah. I was talking to Jill Barber, who's a great Canadian musician, and we were both talking about how you feel like a crazy person at times being a musician, because for a while especially when you're releasing an album, you're so in your own head, because you're just going over everything with the fine-tooth comb, and you're listening to your own. Like I was telling her with Simple Complex, my new one, I listened to that fucking record for about 3 or 4 months with nothing else. I wasn't listening to any other music at all. It's the only thing I was listening to, is like that, before I was getting ready to put it out, to see if there were things I needed to go over with Joel Plaskett, who was doing the mixing of it, and just edits and stuff. And I was like, is it ready? And then you almost become sort of deaf to it, because you've listened to it so many times. And you get to this point, Jill was saying this too, it's like you're just happy at a certain point to be like, fuck it, it's not mine anymore. I'm putting it out there into the world. If people have problems with it, they can have problems with it because I'm done listening to this fucking thing.
Yeah.
So it's
So
funny.
did you produce that one yourself?
Yeah, I self-produced it with a guy named Charles Austin, who's from Halifax, and we both produced it. And Joel Plaskett, who's another Juno winner from Canada,
Nice.
Great, incredible musician. He mixed it, and we recorded at his studio, and
Fang Studio,
in a week. Thanks, that's right, Fang. You got it. Yeah, good research. There you go.
Well, so what I'm curious is when you're self-producing. And you're to your point of just a minute ago, you keep listening to the same thing over and over again. Do you need a different voice to come in and be like, no, it needs something here, and you didn't because you've heard it so many times, you don't catch it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important in the recording process to have that outside voice. And I think for a long time, it's something you learn later in life being a musician, because when you're a younger artist or even a newer artist, you're really sensitive about your material and about your work. And so you think like, no, I wrote it this way. Right. Like you hold it really tight, like a little baby or something. You're like, no, it has to be this specific way. But it doesn't really. And the more you open up to other people is great with the process of it. But I will say too, there's something cool about there's some albums that I've loved, like Blue Rodeo is a great Canadian band, and they went and recorded an album in a cabin completely by themselves. I don't think they had a producer. It was just, they did it totally themselves in a cabin, like over a week. And it's one of their best records ever. And so there is something fun to that too, where it's like you have all the control and you make it exactly how you want it to be and just put it out there.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You just got to trust yourself. Right. You know what you're doing.
Almost your first blush. Right. This is what I want. Put it out. Be done.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, there's something to both. And this last one, I just put one on Bandcamp about 2 months ago maybe, and it's called Getting Pretty Good at Being Okay.
Yep.
And it's got a bunch of new stuff and some older stuff that was rehashed, and that was very. Yeah, some covers, yeah. And that was very much one that I was like, fuck it, get it out. And it was fun to really do that guerrilla style again of like, let's just put this
that goes along with your title, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, guerrilla style, just put it out because, hey, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's a great title. I do like that title.
I love it, yeah.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah,
it's also how I feel right now in life. It's like, I think I'm someone who, as I've learned, as I've gotten into this, I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but I have high expectations of myself sometimes, and I don't hit them, and I have a lot of ambition, and sometimes I feel that ambition isn't being used well. But just in your life in general too, just having this baseline of being okay is really important as we get older. Just feeling like, it wasn't exactly perfect. It wasn't exactly how I envisioned it was going to be, but
or the right time. Okay. I mean, how many times have we just waited? Right. I gotta wait for the right time to do something, and it never comes. Right? Never comes.
If you wait till the right time, you're going to die waiting. That's.
So you couldn't have put this album out 20 years ago because you weren't okay with yourself at that. Well, not yourself, but you know what I mean.
No, it wasn't. 20 years ago, I had like a couple albums out, and probably about that time, actually, it is about 20 years. I was like maybe 25. I went to Halifax to record my second ever thing was called like, I don't even remember the name of it. It's Autopilot or Autopilot Light Out or something. It's on my Bandcamp, but I recorded it with my friend Charles produced Charles Austin, great musician and great engineer. He produced my latest record. And 20 years ago, I went to Halifax to record with him because he was in this great band called the Super Friends. And I was like, Halifax from Ottawa is about a 14-hour drive. It's a long haul. And I was like, oh, he seems like a cool guy. I like his sound. Maybe I could go there and record some stuff in like a weekend. And he was like, well, how many songs do you want to do in a weekend? And I was like, I have about 16. And he's like, wow. Well, he's like, well, we can try. And I was like, I'll play on some. We'll see how it goes. But
I like your ambition, but
yeah, man. Yeah. I recorded. We ended up, I think we got like 13 or 14.
wow.
done
Okay.
between
That's
the two
impressive.
of us. And we played the different instruments and stuff and just kind of, guerrillaed our way through it. And after that, I'll never forget, like we were walking down Barrington Street, which is the main street in Halifax, and he was like, so what are you going to do with these songs? He's a bit older than me, maybe by about 10 years or so. And I was like, I don't know. My 25-year-old self was still pretty Christian and pretty like not confident. I was just about to get married and all these things were happening. And I was like, I don't know. It's like I might put some up online, but I don't think I'm going to do much with it. And I was a big fan of, I don't know if you guys know Pedro the Lion or David Bazan. Ever heard of David Bazan? He's from the Midwest somewhere in the States. Amazing songwriter.
Oh, okay.
But he put stuff up online like before anybody did. And I was like, there's a few bands I like who do that sort of stuff. And Charles was like, man, I think you really need to play these songs live. I think you should get a band, get some people together and do it. And it just changed my whole worldview because I was sort of like, I never saw myself really going down that road. But yeah, he kind of issued a little bit of a push, like a really soft push, and was like, I think you should, like these songs are cool and there's some of them that are great and could relate. And so yeah, I that was me 20 years ago. And now, though I still can get anxiety about performing, I can get into my head. I love it, I love the ability to connect with like 20 people or 100 or 200 or whatever. Like it's just, I love that that connection that you can get from songs and the way they speak to people. It's so, as we were talking about before, it's so beyond you. It's just something that happens and you get to be a part of it. That's so fucking cool.
Worth it, huh? Do you have a ritual before you go on stage?
You know what? I really don't. I should get more into that because I'm a big fan.
It's working for you.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the movie Almost Famous?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of my all-time faves.
Oh, great movie.
And they would get together as a big circle in a band and sing this like, hop on, I'm back for a piggyback ride. Every time they would go on stage. And it's sort of like that, I think. I got the band to do it.
Kind of weird if you're by yourself, but you can do it still.
Yeah, exactly. just me. People are like, what's he doing?
Yeah, well.
Does he think that there's more people there?
Well, if you ever play in Wisconsin, we'll join into the hug.
We'll get the hug.
I'd love that, man.
Well,
I
was going to say, do you get to the States very often to perform?
I don't actually. I need to, and I'm looking into that for this coming year because I have some really good friends in New York, like Queens area, who are like, yeah, to come down, we'll set it up and get a good show. And my mom is actually American, so she was born near Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And
3 hours away.
Yeah, it's close to you guys. So
we'll tell you about
family all around there.
In Appleton, real close to us, they have a Mile of Music, and Mile of Music is a weekend.
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, like a 4-day weekend. Yeah.
Of just every bar has bands, but it's only original music, and they're from all over the country. And
I love that.
Oh, it's amazing, and they all are,
cool.
20-minute sets.
Yeah.
But they could be
20.5-hour. Yeah.
20.5-hour sets. You could play twice a day, 3 different days. It's all over the place, but it's Mile of Music. Look it up and
cool.
It's just it's an amazing thing because it's all. I mean, obviously, I picture it in my head, but it's just Main Street, and people are just walking in and out of bars. It's free to get into to see bands, and it's all original music. It's amazing.
Wow,
you'd fit in just perfectly.
Yeah.
I would love that, man. That would be great. And if I do come down, we're gonna hang in person. In fact, I was just gonna say, maybe I'll. How much time do we have? Do you want me to grab a drink and drink with you guys?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, well,
I'll be right back. There you go. No, I was just saying, Dean, like, are you a fan of Mark? No, not Mark. Dan Harmon, the guy who created Community. Do you know that show?
Yeah.
You
Well,
guys remember that show?
he asked
Do you know
you,
who,
but
Community.
do you know who? Do you know who
I know
Dan
Dan
Harmon is?
yeah, I've heard the name, and I know that he created Community.
Okay.
Great show.
Go watch him in an interview. And you're Dean, and what was your name again in the blue shirt? Sorry,
Kevin.
Kevin. I swear to God, you watch an interview of Dan Harmon.
Yeah.
Hear his voice, and some of his mannerisms too are like bang on with Dean. It's crazy, and I'm a big Dan Harmon fan.
I got it.
You guys talk.
Well,
You guys talk so
to be
similar.
fair, I see the guy a lot. I don't need to see someone else that act and talk like him.
Fair. I get it. It's a lot.
I gotta tell you, Matty, this podcast has been a real challenge to our 25-year friendship. I'll tell you that right now.
I believe it.
We've been friends real good friends for the past 12 years or something. I've known him for 25, but we never had any issues where we would kind of fight or anything. This thing, we will get a little heated over this thing once in a while.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, hey, cheers to you guys too.
Cheers to you.
Well,
Thank
cheers
you so much.
Yeah. Here's a good Canadian
Well,
Ottawa beer.
Well, good. We mentioned that before we got on. We're like, what's a good Canadian beer? Or is there a popular one?
Molson.
That's
what I
right.
was thinking of.
But is Molson like, because I know, like, back in the day, the commercials for Foster's and how it was, Australian for beer, and anybody you talk to from Australia is like, we don't drink that there. Do you guys actually drink Molson?
Some people do.
Okay.
It's very popular depending on who you talk to. I don't. They're like, it's the beer. So let's equate it to my American knowledge, because I spent a lot of time in the States. I would say it's like your
Budweiser?
Yeah, we have Bud here, so maybe kind of like your Rolling Rock.
Oh, okay.
Just like a basic dad beer there's nothing really in it that you're gonna taste and be like, oh, I taste some Citra hops. And
it's like a step above a Bud Light or something like that. It's got a little
kind of. It's same as, you know what? It's equatable to maybe like Coors.
Okay. All right.
Same type of thing.
So what are you drinking again?
It's at every festival. This one is it's by a company in Ottawa called Tooth and Nail.
Okay.
And the beer's called Vim and Vigor. And it's really a nice, like, basic Pilsner. I'm not a big super hoppy guy, but I like I like something with a bit of flavor, but I can't go like mega dark triple hopped IPAs. Like, I just find it
no.
Like, I know when people are like, hey, try this out at a show or something, I'm like, oh god, it's 9%. Okay, great. I've had 2 of them and I'm hammered. To go.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I still got a few songs to play. Leave me alone.
So when you're performing, do you like to have a drink before, during, or do you just wait till after?
I like to maybe have 1 or 2 before.
Okay. But
then afterwards, I'll have a couple, but I can't really get I can't drink a lot before I play. I have, let's make no mistake, I have many times. And I get really bad dry mouth. So my mouth will totally dry up. You get sloppy. Like, you forget stuff on guitar, you forget words, like your mind just isn't quite as sharp. So I find 1 or 2 before is the good zone. Anything beyond that, and I always tell the guys in the band, especially Tom Thompson, who plays with me, is such a great pedal steel player, guitarist, everything. And I'm like, Tom, if there's ever a night where we're together and I start drinking wine, look out, because I've become like a different person. I just don't wine. It just doesn't agree with me, and I can get really drunk really fast, or there's something with it. I'm not a wine person at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm
I was
always
gonna
just
ask,
like beer.
Beer. Okay, so it's beer. I mean, not even a whiskey or vodka. I don't.
Beer and yeah, the odd whiskey. My brother and dad have gone through huge phases where they love I'm like Scottish Irish family, so
Yes.
Scotch, whiskey, different. Like my dad's been to Scotland a bunch of times, and he brings back stuff and I have a sip, and I'm like, oh God, where it's like rocket fuel, just burns your throat.
Yeah.
But
is there any other whiskey besides Canadian Club? A Canadian whiskey that's good?
There's some really good Canadian micro distillery stuff. That's great. Wherever you go, it's and Canada's like, as I'm sure you guys know, quite large. So there's quite a few provinces. People sort of think of it. I think it's funny. I don't know. Maybe from Wisconsin, you can tell me, because I've never known many Wisconsin folks. But is it like what are the main cities in Canada you would think of that you would know? Toronto, Montreal,
Ottawa, Vancouver.
Ottawa.
Oh yeah. So
that's about
it. Montreal.
Yeah, there you go.
Montreal, yeah. And here's a Canadian tip for you. Okay, so the pronunciation, if you want to be more Canadian, people from Canada never say Montreal; they say Montreal, almost like it's a U, like Montreal.
Montreal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Montreal.
Yeah, it's funny because I know a lot of Americans too, and everyone always says Montreal. And Toronto, people would say, how would you guys say it?
Toronto.
Yeah. So the second T, if you're from Canada, you never say it. It's just like Toronto. I don't know why that is. It's just some weird Canadian thing. Those two.
It's like
Montreal,
Oregon, and Oregon. Like, I think if you're from, how do you say it? Oregon. Yeah, I think if you're from there, it's Oregon.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, Oregon. Yeah. It's almost like you're saying Oregon.
Yeah. So it's all that regional dialect stuff.
So my other
so bizarre
in my head. What are cigarettes called up there? He's probably going to say cigarettes.
Well, no, there's some Canadian funny terms. There's like smokes.
Yeah.
People say smokes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm a huge fan of the McKenzie brothers.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love the McKenzies.
I've got their album. I've got their actual album. I've got their Strange Brews, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Dude, same here. It's one of the fucking best.
Is it not? I mean, it's funny. It was as my daughters growing up would date people, I'd be like, they'd come over and they want to hang out for dinner and a movie, and I'd be like, yep, we're playing Strange Brew. If they like it, you can continue to date. If not, I don't like you.
That.
And I'm not even kidding, because it's a weird humor that if you get it and you love it, or you just don't. And if you don't, you're not dating my daughter.
And it's the best. It's such a great movie because those two guys, Rick Moranis and
Dave Thomas.
Dave Thomas are both Canadians.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because they got it completely, and like people still watch it. And we all know, growing up anywhere in Canada, everyone knows someone like Bob and Doug, but there's probably American equivalents to that too, right? So
Beauty Day, eh?
Wait, so Dave Thomas was in that movie and then he founded Wendy's, or was it the other way around?
Yes, I know. He's a multi-talented guy.
All right.
Dave Thomas. But yeah, there was
so here's my exposure to it was when I grew up in Milwaukee as a child. There was Saturday Night Live, but after Saturday Night Live was half hour SCTV.
SCTV, so good.
Boom, watched it, fell in love with John Candy, fell in love with the McKenzie brothers, all that. And then I moved up north, and nobody had SCTV up here in this area.
Yeah.
So I was like, Strange Brew. And me and my buddy Jerry Hansen we talked like the McKenzie brothers all the time. It was our hangover movie.
It's like,
and I own every season of SCTV. I bought the DVD of every episode of SCTV.
Do you really?
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's freaking cool, man. That is great. I was just listening to do you guys know the Smart List podcast with Jason Bateman? Yeah. It's a big one now. They just had Eugene Levy on not long ago. and he was talking all about that era, and it was so cool to hear, how it just like none of them knew what they were doing. It was like shoestring budget.
Yeah.
And then there was a musical of, I think it was Godspell, where it was like, and Martin Short was going to McMaster University at the time, which is from Hamilton, Ontario, just near Toronto. And he got Eugene to be involved with it. And then I think, they had Dave Thomas was in there too, and all of these people. And it's sort of SCTV either morphed into that or it kind of came out of that. And then, John Candy joined and everything too. And there's some of the stuff you watch from that now is so classic, but it's so weird. Some of the sketches, you're watching it as a kid. I remember watching that and being like, is it funny?
Yeah.
Because it's so dry and awkward and, there's no laugh track or anything. And
I think that's what I liked about it.
Fun. Yeah.
That it was just offbeat and I can guarantee you I was laughing.
But didn't know why.
I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
What the heck was Joe Flattery?
Joe
Flaherty? Yeah. I always thought he was one of the funniest too. And he's didn't seem to go after that. Maybe he did, but I didn't follow him after that.
He did. He's done some smaller, like different parts for sure. He's been around. He had a great role in Happy Gilmore, that Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just kind of kept popping out of the bushes.
Yeah.
Because he was a big fan of the other guy, Shooter McGuffin. He's like, hey, Shooter, you want to go to the Sizzler and get some grub?
That's him, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And he kept saying Sizzler every line he said. He's like, you want to go to the Sizzler later? Oh my God, it's just the best. And Shooter McGuffin's like, get the fuck out of here, buddy. He's so funny. Such a great play.
I gotta bust that. I
love that. So what do you guys think of in terms of, we're on that movie track? I'm a big movie and comedy fan, but what would you say? I would say for me, some of the top comedies, Strange Brew would be up there for sure.
Thank you.
But I think tonally, one of the best sort of comedy dramas, and it's like a movie that is not really being made anymore, but I see it as almost being pretty perfect, is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You guys think that?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the best comedies, I think.
Yeah. It just has this great tone, and I mean the way that the characters interact through the whole thing, and you're like learning more about them, and there's like tenderness, but also really funny parts, but also really sad parts too. Like it's just fucking great,
It is. What another movie I love is was Harry Crumb.
Oh, that was a good one too.
And
where's the PI?
Yeah, it was just what the fuck? He's going around, but it's one of those movies I love popping in and just watching because it's
the best.
It may not be, and those are the movies, a lot of comedies I like is not funny, nothing hilarious. It's just funny throughout. It's just you smile through the whole movie.
I love that.
And that's
Dean,
one of them.
Dean, what about you? What's one of your all-time great comedy?
I'm not the big movie guy like you guys, but I mean, Tommy Boy is one of my favorite comedies.
Dude, that's one of the best. I love that.
But then I like dark comedies too, like the movie Very Bad Things. I love that style of comedy where they
that?
Christian Slater and Jeremy Piven.
Oh yeah,
where they kill the hooker in the
where they just killed a hooker.
Where shit just keeps going worse and worse and worse, and it's just so far off the rails. You're like, so.
Who was the guy who was in Very Bad Things, but he was also one of the crooks in Home Alone? What the hell's that guy's name?
Jeff Daniels.
Talking about curly hair, not Jeff Daniels.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
He was also in City Slickers.
He was City Slickers. Daniel Stern. Yeah, and he was ever.
What happened to that guy?
And one of his best movies is Breaking Away. If you've ever seen that,
I don't know it. Huh.
It's a 70s movie, Breaking Away. It's about it's Indiana, Little 500, which is a bike race, but it's about high school group of kids that don't go on to college that live in Indiana.
Cool.
It's Dennis Quaid's in it, one of his first roles. Daniel
no
Stern.
way.
Breaking Away, I suggest it. It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
Because of Daniel Stern.
I'm gonna check that out. Dennis Quaid also was in one of the best Martin Short movies ever, I think, which was Inner Space.
Yeah.
Remember that one? Yeah.
Yes.
He sort of got injected into someone's body. I don't remember. It's such a weird concept. Like he got shrunk down somehow, and then he's like,
Dennis Quaid was an astronaut or something, and he was
"That's right."
Gonna be shrunk down to go into something as an experiment, and by mistake, the needle went into Martin Short, and he didn't know it.
That's right. That's
and
right.
then Dennis Quaid is talking to him, and he's like, "Why is this guy, in his head, floating around?" Yeah, that was a great movie.
Man. Martin Short too, one of the best.
So I had the
comedy.
pleasure of seeing Martin Short and Steve Martin in concert. I took my son. Me and him went to it, and because they're two of my favorites. So they're touring right now. Hilarious.
That's so cool.
Fucking they're hilarious.
Oh man, I bet. Were they doing like bits and stuff on stage, or what kind of stuff were they doing?
Yeah, they did bits together. They did bits separately. They made fun of each other. It was just great. They showed some short movies. Yeah, it was awesome.
I love that, man. I heard this great Steve Martin story from Martin Mull. Remember the guy who was he was in Roseanne and so much stuff. Arrested Development, like he's been on, and he was on
My
Norm
Bodyguard.
Macdonald's. Yeah, he was in Norm Macdonald's old podcast.
Okay.
And Martin Mull started doing stand-up way back with Steve Martin. And Norm was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And he said, "Yeah, they called it the Martin and Martin tour."
Oh.
And Martin Mull was kind of nobody, like he was just getting into the comedy world. He was just a stand-up. And he got on this tour with Steve Martin, and he wanted to go by. And they're both musical. They actually both play. I think they're still friends today. But
I didn't know Martin Mull played an instrument. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really talented. So he plays all kinds of bluegrass stuff, sort of like Steve Martin does. So Martin Mull was saying, he was like, I was so intimidated being on this tour. And he said, it was the first night I was playing with Steve at this comedy show, and Steve Martin's door was open. And I walked by. Steve had his back to the door, and he was kind of playing banjo in his chair because he's always played banjo. And Martin was going to go in and say something, but then he's like, you know what? I don't want to disturb him. And so Martin Mull just kept walking down the hall and was like, fuck it, I'll talk to him later. And he said he was about 5 steps past the door when he heard, "Oh, pretty good. How are you?" Like Steve Martin just sensed that he was by the door and just said that. Like, so fucking funny, man. And then they said they were just friends ever since. Like he just sensed that there was somebody there who was going to say hi to him, and he just made it less awkward. So cool, man. I love that
Steve
story.
Martin. I mean, he was the first like arena comedian. He was the big.
He was huge.
He was huge at that time, which I got those albums too. Well, 2 of his. Let's Get Small. And when I say albums, I mean albums. I have all. I'm into albums.
Yeah. Comedy albums.
Yeah.
So I keep getting texts popping up. That's why I keep pushing my finger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
God damn it, people. Get away from me, people.
Hey, if you need if they're like, hey, booking a gig, take it.
No. Check it later.
Comedy, you into comedy, movies, and stand up as well?
Yeah, all 3. I think comedy, I relate to it so well because I listen to a lot of comedians on podcasts, and the similarities between being a stand-up and playing music are pretty similar. There's things obviously that are very, very different, like massively. I mean, anyone in the world, no matter how good you look or how whatever good you don't think you look or how whatever, everyone has body issues. So the whole idea of standing up on a stage with just a microphone and you're just kind of standing up there like, hi. Like with music, you're always doing something. You got a guitar, keyboard, you're playing drums. Like there's always something kind of high, a bit of a buffer between you and your guitar. Audience.
Pretending you're not paying attention.
Pretending you're not paying attention, looking off into space, right? But stand up is crazy. I mean, the idea that you got to get up on the stage and fucking make people laugh. Like that is intense to me. Have you guys ever done that kind of thing?
No.
I was just going to ask you that same thing.
Every eyeball in the room is on you. You know, at least when you're in a band, you got 4 or 5 guys, it's all spread out a little bit, but
that's right.
Every eyeball in the room on you. That's
But even when you play solo, every eyeball's on you, even though you're tuning your guitar and you have the buffer, but it's still every eye's on you.
That's true, but it's a little different. There's some similarities for sure. Like comedians and musicians, I heard Chris Rock talking about this. He's like, musicians are like kind of your distant cousins. Like you see them and you're like, oh yeah, we get along. I'm not sure why, but we just do.
Oh.
And you sort of get it. But I think that
he's right.
It is different that first of all, as a musician, if you make a joke that's even half good, people are most likely going to laugh because they're not really expecting it. They're there to see music. And I like to screw around and I like to banter and chat, between songs and stuff, maybe tell a story. But I love it when a joke bombs. Like I really do love that feeling because the awkwardness of it, it's just something you can't fake it,
Right.
Like there's no AI, there's no thing that can recreate that. It's just something that's totally human. Like, you make this joke. Like I like to use a lot of old Norm jokes when I go up, like stuff that people wouldn't really hear, like stuff that he used during the Bob Saget roast. Where's like he was reading this old joke book, from
How
like
brilliant
the 30s.
Was that?
So brilliant. And I'll do that sometimes too. Like Tom, who plays with me, and I'll be like, Tom Thompson plays with me. Tom, you'll never be over the hill, not in the car you drive. And no one, right? Like people are like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like over the hill, that's not even a term people use anymore. But
right.
When we were growing up, I remember my mom had her 40th birthday party and there were all these signs, right, saying over the hill, over the hill. It's like no one says that now. Like it's not even a term. And I did this other one with that Norm did to Susie, what's her name? Susie Essman from Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was like, Susie Essman is here. Susie recently became a vegetarian, but she's still full of baloney in my book. And then he just stupid
but
jokes. It's so fun.
But stupid it's so
jokes. It's so fun to do that. And if you do get the odd laugh and then people are sort of into it, and sometimes you just do get people who sort of get that, like, I love the dry and under humor. Like I don't generally laugh a ton. Like I love to like plant that scene. In fact, I want to tell you guys this joke because I feel like you'd appreciate it. So Martin Mull told this one with Norm. It's one of my favorite jokes I've ever heard. And he's like, Norm, can I tell you a joke? It's a bit about the nurturing abilities of men. And Norm's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So Martin goes, okay, well, this older couple are sitting having their supper with their TV tables. And the husband looks over at the wife and she's turned a bit blue. And he thinks to himself, oh my God, Doris has had her stroke. So they go right to the hospital, right through the swinging doors of the ER, and they go right in. And he's waiting out in the waiting room, an hour, 2 hours, 2.5. Finally, a doctor comes out. He's like, Johnson? He's like, that's me. He goes, okay, well, your wife has had a serious stroke. He goes, okay, yeah, that's what I thought. And the doctor's like, it's a big one. So there's lots of things you're going to have to do. So going forward, she actually is going to have major mobility problems in every way. And in fact, part of that is she's deaf from the stroke. So you're going to have to learn sign language. And with that sort of deafness from the stroke too, her mouth doesn't move. So when she eats, you're actually going to have to move her jaw up and down. And with that kind of eating, there's all kinds of digestive problems. So when you're eating, you want to kind of turn her over and clean up the mess. And probably when you're doing that, you're going to have to clean off the bed sores too. And the husband sort of standing there. He's like, really? And the doctor's like, "No, I'm just kidding you. She's dead." But it's like, one of the best jokes I ever heard because he just delivered it perfectly with no smile, no nothing. And Norm was just dying afterwards. He goes, he's like, yeah, it has to do with the nurturing abilities of men. I fucking loved it, man.
And I can imagine Norm would love it.
That kind of reminds me of we just saw Anthony Jeselnik a few weeks ago.
Oh, so funny. That guy's incredible.
Yeah, like the twist at the end of that reminds me of his stuff where you think he's going, he's going this way and it just goes straight this way.
No, he should.
Oh man. It's fun.
Might have heard it. I just remember it because that Norm show. He had the Netflix show, right? Is that what you're talking about, or no?
Show, it was a Netflix show. Martin Mull was on the original podcast that he did. That was super irreverent.
Okay,
there was so much stuff where, you watch it now and it's like, there's no way it could air on any network with some of the stuff that he talked about. But he had Andy Dick was on there. Super Dave. He had Super Dave. That's
Super Dave Osborne.
Yeah.
So is the Justin Bateman and podcast you talked about
Smartless.
You Jimmy. Are all three of those guys from Canada?
No, just Will Arnett.
Will Arnett is
the other guy, Sean Hayes and Jason Bateman. Sean Hayes and Bateman are both American. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did.
But yeah,
I remember
Bateman,
hearing about him.
Has Canadian. Jason Bateman has Canadian connections somehow, I think.
Okay. Will Arnett is pretty funny too.
Yeah.
He's so funny. Oh my gosh.
And they banter.
They banter and they burn each other constantly. It's just so funny. You can tell that they're friends because they just shred each other.
Yeah.
It's great. It's not for everyone. It's some people who are really serious about podcasting, as I'm sure you guys have learned a bit of that. You go down this road and some people are very serious about it. Some people are really loose. I like to be loose and free flowing. I just think they have a fun setup. I mean, there's a reason why I think they're number one in all of the podcasts in the world right now. Cause they're just, they have that and they get the best guests on there. They just had,
they do.
Between the three of them, they know everybody. So
that's right.
Yeah.
They had Joe Biden on recently, which is massive. They had,
I listened to Keanu Reeves was on. I listened to that one.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was
cool.
good. Well, he's originally from Canada.
Yeah, he's Canadian too. Yeah.
Right from born. I think he was born there. Maybe not
Vancouver.
Too long, but
from Vancouver,
yeah. No, he was up there for high school too, I think.
Yeah.
He played hockey.
He played hockey and he was really serious goalie for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. I just saw John Wick 4, the newest one. I hadn't seen a movie in the theater. It's great. I mean, you can't, Keanu doing his thing, he's just being very dark. I'd never seen any of the other ones, so I didn't know what to expect.
Oh, really?
That's why it was great then. You've seen all four of them. Don't worry about it. You're good.
Exactly. You guys aren't John Wick fans?
Oh, I love all.
He loves them.
I love every one of them.
And don't get me wrong. The first movie is great, but it's essentially the same movie over and over again.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
Yeah,
but
listen, you're not going into that one. Yeah. You're not going into that one thinking I'm going to get some kind of intellectual awakening from this.
Right.
It's it's fluff.
But in my head, as you're talking, I'm going, okay, not seeing 1, 2, and 3 and just going into 4. You had to have a lot of questions.
I had some, but I sort of talked to my brother had seen them all, and I asked him a little bit, but I sort of picked it up. I mean,
still great action.
Yeah, great action. That's the thing. I wasn't really I need to know this storyline about this person because the action is so good. Yeah, and it's in your face, and you're watching.
You want me to sum up the first thing?
I don't need to sum it up. Fuck face.
His dog died. He's pissed. That's the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And then
I didn't even know about a dog.
To be fair, it's a great premise because I'd much rather my wife get killed than my dog. So I mean,
Right.
that really pissed
There
him
you
off.
go. Well, the funny thing about I was talking to my brother about that. We were just saying like it must be really fun to work on a movie like that because there's so much about it. Even Keanu's dialogue, like everyone in the scenes where it's almost it's making fun of itself in a way, like it's not taking itself seriously at all. And so it must be really fun to work on a film like that where you're like, oh, this is the dialogue for the next minute and a half. He just says shit and that's it. You know what I mean? And then it's just action, action, action. Like that's cool. I think that would be really fun.
Pretty sure half his lines are, yeah, I'm mad.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And you're the one who likes it.
Yeah, I think I'm back. Oh yeah, fuck yeah. But I'm with you. I just enjoy the ride. So
dude.
What's a good what is Canada's greatest actor like that everybody cherishes up there? Besides
right
Keanu.
now, yeah, Keanu's pretty huge. Right now, I mean Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yep. He's such a savant. Like everything that he seems to do works out really well. I mean, if you see him in interviews and talking and stuff, he's so crispy, like intellectual. He's just like his wit is
you know
so
what?
fast.
I'm drinking his gin right now.
Hey, there you go.
Aviator.
Yeah.
There you go.
I just thought of that. A matter of fact, I am.
Nice.
He's
plug out.
It's cool. You guys are.
Ryan Reynolds, come on the podcast. Plug.
Yeah, there you go, Ryan. Get in there.
I mean, he must need
Ryan,
it. Mint Mobile's not, come on.
No, it's not working out. Yeah. No, I think that it's cool that you guys are into this stuff too because it's very it's fun to talk about instead of just tell me about this song, tell me about that song because I do get I draw a lot of inspiration from movies, TV. I like things to be like cinematic sometimes in a song where that's really what I'm going for too. Is I'd love to get songs of mine into TV and movies, and I'm working on that.
Oh yeah.
It's a grind, man.
You want to watch a good podcast, movie related. Rob Zombie was just on with Howie Mandel. I think it dropped yesterday or today. And he talked a lot about the making of the first Halloween and the issues that he had with the Weinstein brothers. And it's a pretty interesting podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He does not like the Weinstein brothers.
Well,
and this was before everybody knew Harvey was a perv.
Oh, so it's an older one.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So how was Rob Zombie a part of the first Halloween movie?
Not the first one. He did the reboots.
Oh, he did the reboot. He directed.
Yeah.
He directed
1 and 2.
So you got kind of three phases of Halloween. You've got the 1978 original, John Carpenter. And then they did a whole bunch of Michael's dead. They comes back. And then in 2000-ish.
2002. Yeah, early 2000s. Yeah.
Rob Zombie just remade Halloween, the first one.
Okay.
But then gave Michael Myers a little backstory.
Yeah.
Which fucked it up and sucks. And then and then he did 2. He did a Halloween 2. And then there was a gap, and then they just had the whole reboot of where Halloween 1 from 78.
Okay.
They redid when those were the last 3 with the Halloween ends, kills, and Halloween ends.
Oh fuck. That's so funny.
That first Halloween was okay. Halloween Kills sucked ass, and Halloween Ends was one of the worst movies ever made.
There goes Jamie Curtis.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry.
What happened? What was was Rob Zombie was the name of his band White Zombie? What was the name of his band again?
Yeah. Originally he was in White Zombie, and then then he broke off.
What was the other movie that he did called Corpses or something?
They did House of a Thousand Corpses.
House of a Thousand Corpses.
And then Devil's Rejects, and then 3 from Hell, which is kind of like the trilogy of those characters.
Do you like horror movies or not really?
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, horror movies are I'm more into the horror than the comedy. But even horror, I don't do this. This guy, I mean, I'm staring at a wall of 3,000 DVDs in front of me. So
amazing.
This guy's it's insane.
I'm
an
addict. I'm an addict.
I don't pretend to know any movie when I'm around him. So
well, horror is interesting too because it's sort of resurgence in the last couple of years.
It's a fun genre. I just watched Terrifier 1 and 2 and they're we're trying so desperately to get somebody from those movies on here because we just love them. And the first one is, was made for $25,000 or something. And it's like it's like a rebirth of old school 80s kind of horror. And yeah.
Interesting. What's the, I don't know anything about Terrifier. So you can give me the Cole's notes on it.
Well, if you page
clown, he kills people.
Yeah. It's a creepy looking clown. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. That's enough.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, but again, every horror movie is kind of the same. Every clown is, but if they can be original about it, you just enjoy somebody putting a twist on it or something. Yeah.
Yeah. When you guys were saying, when you were talking about all the phases of Halloween that's happened, like all the reboots, how many phases now have we seen or reboots of Batman, including like the Joker and everything too?
Yeah.
Fuck, that idea just cannot die within cinema. It just keeps getting.
Yeah, I gave up on superhero movies a long time ago. There's too many of them. It's too. They just keep. Now we're up to like 4 different Spider-Mans now. I just can't even.
Yeah.
Well, right now they're into the multiverse, and I don't like that.
Yeah,
it's a lot of crossover, and it's sort of. I did get into the Avengers a bit during lockdowns, like when I was like, I'm gonna watch some of these, and they were fun. But then you feel like, I guess I should go and watch all the Ant-Man, and then the Iron Man, and Thor, and like it's like fuck, it's too much.
There's so many
stuff.
Yeah.
But Deadpool with Ryan.
Yeah, Deadpool is great, but that they can stand on their own.
That kind of stands on its own, but it's freaking hilarious.
It's funny too, because it's anything I think too that makes fun of itself, which that movie constantly does. Through the whole movie is just very funny. I mean, and it's like the first 2 minutes, he's making fun of Hugh Jackman.
Yeah,
he's talking about him in his accent. And it's just like, what the fuck is this movie? And he's talking about Hugh Jackman's balls.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, he really has done things his own way. So,
So you're obviously into comedies. You don't like horror, dramas, or just comedies?
Yeah. No, I love dramas. I love a good drama. I love comedies. I love some good, like well done action movies. Like I would say, for my money, one of the best action movies of all time that stands on its own. It doesn't. I don't think you can hold a candle to is Heat. With De Niro.
Yeah, De Niro.
Pacino. Yeah. It's
that shootout scene coming out of the bank.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It makes that movie. Yeah.
And apparently for that scene, I heard that they actually used live ammo for some
Holy
of it,
fuck.
which makes it which is insane because you can see that the guns are really like kicking on their shoulders and the sounds like
that sounds like Michael Mann.
And everything.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And then the ending scene, right, with Pacino and De Niro chasing each other through the airfield, like it's so intense, but it's fucking incredible. And just some of the dark, the characters, and it takes a while. I actually watched that movie with my friend Adam Axford years back. And when I was about 19, 20, it was finally, like, he saw it in the theater a couple times. Like, this is the best movie ever, man. You're not believe it. I tried watching it like twice or 3 times with him. I fell asleep almost every time because it's so slow, right?
It's a slow burner at first, yeah.
But then over time, I really appreciated it. I would say, that's one of the best actions I've ever seen. And I like even movies like Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
Number one. I think is an incredible action comedy. And they don't those movies are not really made much anymore that are good like that,
No.
They're either super campy or over the top. And they try and go down. It's so hard to find something that a movie that can be in sort of a couple lanes and do both of them really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that, and I mean, kudos to Eddie Murphy. 48 Hours is
Murphy,
another
yeah.
great one.
That's a great one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's
Incredible.
what I was saying before. I think it's ones you pop it in, and it's just not like I'm
You don't have
buckle over laughing every 2 minutes. It's you're smiling because you know it's coming. You're smiling because they're funny. Not every joke's like ha ha ha, but they're just humorous and they're just great watches. They're just great watches.
Yeah.
Fletch. I
Like
love
in,
Fletch.
in
You ever see Fletch?
Fletch is great. Fletch is a great movie, man.
That's another one.
Chase.
Caddyshack. I love.
Yeah. Oh my God. Caddyshack is where he's, lining up those golf shots, and he's like, no, 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 no.
Everything about it. Everything about it.
Chevy Chase is he's one of those rare humans who could just get into a role, and but he's sort of
An asshole.
he's always an asshole. And in interviews and in real life too, apparently.
Real life.
So this is where I sum up, and it was actually Quentin Tarantino that has said this, that from the 80s movies, between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, the difference between their movies, both great, but he prefers Chevy Chase movies because every Bill Murray movie is Bill Murray's an asshole, has a revelation, then he turns out to be a nice guy. Chevy Chase movies he's an asshole, and at the end he's still an asshole. He's a sarcastic guy.
Yeah.
He didn't change, where Bill Murray always had to be nice at the end.
Oh, okay.
And if you look back, it's true.
It's true. Chevy Chase, there's nothing really in his arsenal that you could say, oh yeah, he did a kind of dramatic. I would say though, I love Tarantino. Like I'm a big fan of his, obviously, and he made being a movie geek sort of cool for everybody.
Yeah.
Because he was one of the original. Oh, does he really? Oh, cool.
Oh, don't even. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent. It's called Video Archive.
Dean's like, I'm gonna go and get a beer.
It's called Video Archive, and I listen to it every week. Video. I'm gonna say again. Video Archive
doesn't even listen to our podcast every week, but
I've already bought merch from it. But he's really got me into 70s movies right now. And I've always loved 70s movies, but I'm really into it. So long story short, he used to work at a video store.
Yeah.
With a guy named Roger Avery.
Yeah.
Buddies. They wrote Pulp Fiction together. Went separate ways. Did their movies. Not when Video Archives closed, because rentals went out.
Yeah.
Tarantino went in and said, I'll buy the whole thing. I'm rich now. I'll buy every VHS. And then he, in the last couple of years, a room of his house, took a room and recreated Video Archives because he took the stands too and rebuilt it. So they started a podcast with Roger Avery's daughter, and Quentin will go and pick movies, not popular movies at the time, obscure movies that he loved. They'll watch them and then they'll talk about those movies.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, I mean, obviously, I love it. And I'm trying to get every fucking movie he talks about, and I can't keep up, but I love it. Because he talks about them and I'm just like, I got to watch this movie. I've heard of a lot of them.
Yeah. Here's a good question for you guys. What's a classic movie that everyone has talked about? Maybe your whole lives you've heard about it, but you've never seen. You've never ever seen it. I'll go first.
Good.
Yeah, I would say one of the ones that I constantly hear people talking about or being like, oh my God, it's like one of the best movies of all time. It will change you. On the Waterfront, Marlon Brando. I think he's in there. Yeah, never seen it.
Really?
And there's some Brando stuff that I never really saw. Like I got into the Godfathers. I went through a Godfather phase, obviously, because I'm a big fan of De Niro and Pacino. But I don't know. That's one that I never really saw. I saw Citizen Kane once in film school, and I was sort of like, it's really interesting, but it didn't really
It's not the greatest
resonate.
movie ever made.
No, it's weird.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny weird. It's funny you say Godfather because I've never seen The Godfather. So
well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey.
And
what about for you?
2 weeks ago, I just rewatched On the Waterfront 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow, still holds up,
and fell in love with it even more.
Wow,
love it even more. But
I'll check it out.
Well, I mean, I just anyway. Again, I was getting back in the 70s because of the Tarantino thing, but I have seen it before. But I rewatched it and I went, yeah, I kept watching it, going, oh, this is amazing. I just loved it. I love the acting. I love the directing. I love everything.
That's cool. I gotta check it out. Hey, Dean, what?
Go ahead.
I was going to ask.
I wanted to say my movie.
What is it?
Which is going to be really hard because
I thought you've seen every movie.
And all I could think of is I still haven't seen Dirty Dancing.
Oh, you're not missing a whole lot, but it's cool. It's
a class.
It's of an era.
I've never seen it I've never sat down and watched it from beginning to end. I'm sure from somebody watching on TV, I've seen, but I've never watched it from beginning to end.
I own it, but I've never watched it.
It's one of those.
Does that qualify? Is that a classic?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
it's total classic.
I mean, that was a cultural.
It's in the. Was that a John Hughes? Was he that too?
No,
he didn't do that one.
No.
That's an incredible flick. Just the way that it's all kind of at this summer camp, and it has that vibe. And Patrick Swayze, to his credit, was great. Jennifer Grey, also incredible.
Sure.
Which leads me to,
because
I was going to ask Dean or both of you guys with your younger kids, are there movies from your era growing up that your kids can kind of watch? Because for me, just recently, Sloan has been getting into that. So I was like, I got to get her off of Paw Patrol and all this shit. Do something different. So though she watches a lot of different stuff. She's really a smart kid and she's eager. So I started telling her about Back to the Future.
Oh,
the first one. And man, she watched that and loved it.
Yeah.
She loved that there was the dog, Einstein was in it, and he traveled through time and came back, and she just loved Leia, the skateboard scenes and all that, and it actually Tarantino, going back to him, he talked about it on a Jimmy Kimmel interview. He thinks he said he hasn't seen many perfect movies in his life, but he thinks Back to the Future #1 is almost a perfect movie.
Right.
Because it's in terms of tone, timing, speed, it just keeps moving and the story is constantly moving and there's no wasted lines or dialogue or scenes or anything. It's just
it's considered one of the perfect scripts ever written.
It's incredible.
And it is great. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah. And then Sloan recently, I thought it might have been too old, but I was like, I'm going to try it out. Ferris Bueller.
Oh.
And she
did that keep her attention?
It actually did.
Okay.
I was like, there's some swearing. I'm like, Sloan, they say, shit a couple times in this movie, but it's not. There's nothing really in it that a younger kid couldn't really see. It's interesting because you get to see, Cameron, his friend, he's really pissed off with his dad and has to kind of explore those feelings, but he gets them out and there's so many comedic, funny things happening in that movie that are just so little and that you forget about.
Yeah.
The whole, I think it's 20 minutes or 15 minutes at the end where Ferris is just running through the whole neighborhood trying to get back to his house.
At the end,
he's jumping on a trampoline.
And
then he's running through a house and he eats somebody's hamburger. He's like, dinner's ready. Stuff like that. Kids totally love it. I was like, fuck. So I'm starting to go through old stuff from that era.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, kids can watch this and it's good. What do you think about that, Dean?
Well, it's funny. I mean, the two that I'm just geeked that she loves. She loves The Wizard of Oz, which I grew up.
Great.
I love The Wizard of Oz.
Classic.
And she'll watch. She likes Nightmare Before Christmas, not Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, okay.
Good. So that's another one. But what was I just? Oh, I was just thinking of something. Just recently, she was getting into something that I was like, now I can't think of what I was.
So I
don't remember.
Last summer I exposed my grandson to Ghostbusters.
Oh man,
He loved it.
How old is he?
My grandson's he was probably 6 when I showed him 6, 7.
Okay. I might wait a bit. There's some scary parts in that.
Well, that's
still good.
That just jogged my memory. I tried to get her to watch Gremlins.
Oh,
and that was too scary for her.
That can be.
That has some scary
I don't remember I didn't remember the guy getting killed right at the beginning, like dragged in by all the. I'm like, oh boy.
Great movie, but that movie prompted PG-13.
Seriously?
Yeah, because they gave it a PG, and they're like so much complaints, so they started the PG-13.
Wow.
Between that and Poltergeist.
What, Poltergeist was PG?
One of the two were the first PG-13. The other one sparked it. I can't remember which one.
There's no way the first Poltergeist was PG.
If not, it was PG-13.
Jesus.
But
between the two,
yeah, because it was really, I remember seeing when it was on TV, and I was probably, I want to say 10 or something, and I loved it. One of my favorite movies for a long, long time was Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, great movie.
4 kids, they're going through the thing. But and it's like a Stephen King thing, and they're literally going to find a dead body.
Yeah.
Which they find.
Yeah.
At the end. But it's more about, the story and the journey of it and everything. But yeah,
I think it's great for kids.
I watched it. It is. Yeah.
I think it's great for kids to watch because one, they can be like, as a kid, I did the same, and I think my kids did too. It was like, I'm one of those guys. What if I was in that situation? What if I was traveling with my friends doing the same thing? So they associate with being a kid traveling out without parents. So they think that's exciting. And so I think they are attracted to that. So I love that movie to show to my children too. I have not my grandson, so that's a good one. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's a great movie. And it just, again, it keeps moving. Like it moves the whole time. And, there's slow parts where they're having little dialogue scenes and stuff, but it's so cool. And really, man, you see in that film, like River Phoenix was such a fucking incredibly talented kid actor, and just a great actor in general now. And Joaquin Phoenix always talks about that, how his brother inspired him so much, but he was really great. If he had lived a long time, the amount of awards
he would have made,
that guy could have won, the movies he could have made. Yeah. But one of my favorite River Phoenix movies, if you guys ever have seen this, let me know. It's one of the best, I think, in terms of, it came out maybe 90s, but it's great, incredible script. The plot, it's one of these movies, again, we're just keep talking about these ones. It moves constantly. It's great. Sneakers.
Yeah. Robert Redford's in there.
Yeah. And it's like a real funny caper movie where they're trying to, they're like this group of guys that gets paid to break into stuff without being detected.
Yeah.
And then they run into, some real bad guys, but it's like Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, River Phoenix, Sidney Poitier.
Oh,
the fucking cast is incredible, and the dialogue.
Love it. I love him. I'm growing my collection of his. I just bought a movie
Sidney
last
Poitier?
weekend. Yeah, I just bought a movie of his last weekend.
He's amazing, man.
Because I'm trying to build it up. But no, that's a great movie. I love Sneakers too.
Yeah. And little known fact in that film, Dan Aykroyd is wearing, for a couple scenes, a T-shirt that has the band The Tragically Hip on it, which are one of the best Canadian bands of all time. Like they're a huge Canadian band. The lead singer died just a couple years ago from cancer, Gord Downey. But yeah, Dan Aykroyd's from Kingston, Ontario. He's a big he helped get Tragically Hip. They were on SNL, I think, because of Aykroyd.
Oh, nice.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Dan's a good guy. Dan's a good one. His movies weren't always great, but I enjoyed watching them.
And he was always so cerebral. He could deliver these really intricate lines of dialogue, and quick. He's a fast talker, man.
Yeah. Oh, he was great on Saturday Night Live. His he would be the pitch man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dramatic or whatever. So, and just Sunday, I was visiting my dad with my daughters, and we're talking, and my daughters are looking at me and my dad like, what the fuck? Because me and my dad I said something about attracting, and then my dad goes, big breasted American women. And then we both went, because we're two wild and crazy guys. And me and my dad are doing that. And my daughters are like, what the fuck are they doing? And we just cracked up.
It's
just Sunday.
What were they called? The Swedish? No.
Oh.
No. Two Wild and Crazy Guys. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Two Wild and Crazy.
Yeah.
Two Wild and Crazy Guys. It was just Aykroyd and
Steve Martin.
Yeah. So incredible.
Yeah. But they're so funny. We're literally, my dad's sitting down and we're both doing our hands going.
Amazing. Dan Aykroyd as
and it was my dad that said, we love big breasted American women in front of my daughters.
That's so funny. Oh my God. Your daughter's like, what the hell? Yeah, there was a few lines in like Ferris Bueller and Back to the Future that are a little dated, possibly a little bit, off. And Sloan is sort of like, what does that mean? You're like, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're 6. I'll tell you. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty. Though. She'll watch it again years later and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why we can talk about it.
But she'll love it because she was exposed to it as a young. Yeah.
That's exactly. But one of the best Aykroyd roles ever, I think, was his character in Ghostbusters, Ray Stantz, like being that super technical scientist guy. Like he could just talk so fast, and
he wrote that movie.
Yeah, he's fucking incredible. And another one of his that I really love was with John Cusack, where John Cusack played a hitman who was returning to his high school.
Grosse Pointe Blank.
Grosse Pointe Blank, one of the best, man. That's an incredible flick.
I do. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I do remember really liking it when I saw it.
It's a long time. Yeah. And not to be a geek, but I just bought that last weekend with. I'm not even making this shit up.
Way.
I just bought that last week with by Sidney Poitier's.
No way.
To Love with Sir. To the Love of Ira is the Sidney Poitier movie I bought.
I think Cusack is interesting too. Well, maybe we can wrap up soon because I should get going. But
I think go ahead.
Yeah, no, please. I think Cusack is one of the most underrated movie actors of an era, because if you look at him, there was nothing really about him. Like, he's not like a Brad Pitt, he's not like incredibly sexy or super good looking or anything. He's just kind of normal looking, right? Yeah. He's like a normal looking Midwestern guy. But
he's from Chicago.
Smart. Chicago, yeah. And he was smart intellectually, he could have funny lines, and he was in these romantic movies. But I think, it was funny, like for a time, he was the shit, like he was. And if you look back, you can be like, I don't really know why, but he just was able to do it. Like, there's something sort of magical about actors like that,
So going back, did you ever see his movie Better Off Dead?
Dude, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it.
One of my favorite too. That's where I fell in love with John Cusack. And then The Sure Thing.
The Sure Thing, yeah, that's a great one.
By Rob Reiner, who did Stand By Me. He directed both those.
No way. Sure Thing, I gotta watch again. I also love Hot Pursuit.
Yeah.
By Cusack, where he's like trying to find his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then he sort of has to like take on these drug lords and stuff. It was a really weird movie. And then there was one that I really love with Bobcat Goldthwait in it too, called One Crazy Summer. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's one of the best. Like, it, scene for scene, comedy gold, like just so stupid. The guy who plays comedy. The guy who plays Bugger from Revenge of the Nerds, Curtis.
Heck yeah. Curtis Armstrong. You're right. Yeah. Well, one of the two.
So
Armstrong or Anderson? I think it's Armstrong.
And he plays this guy named Aki, and he's just the funniest fucking character. Oh, his dad. There you go. Callback to earlier. Aki's dad in One Crazy Summer is Joe Flaherty from SCTV.
Nice.
And Joe Flaherty's like a military guy, and he really wants his son to be in the military. And they're like working in this army surplus store, and he's like, "Son," he's like, "Go get some shells on the beach." And they're like, "Oh, that's good. That sounds like something Aki could do." And he's literally like picking up shells from artillery as bombs are exploding, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing out here?" So yeah, just
One crazy summer.
it's a great movie.
I saw it in the 80s, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. So I might have to revisit that one.
You gotta watch that again.
That one I don't know,
of course.
but better off that I do. One sure thing I do. So I will say this: last thing about John Cusack is there's a great clip on YouTube. I could find it. It was probably right before the pandemic, and I want to say because he's a Chicago, he's a huge baseball fan. Okay,
yeah, he is for sure.
So I don't remember if he's white. I think he's White Sox. Don't quote me.
Yeah, he is. No, he is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he was at a game, I think, when they were ready to win, going to the playoffs, and he was leaving, and some fan gave up to him and said, "You're a fair weather fan," blah, 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 kind of giving him shit for like showing up because they're in the playoffs or in the World Series, one of the two, and Cusack just went, "Hold on a minute," and just fucking started rattling off baseball stats off the top of his head. It was incredible. Like, this, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, "So fuck you," and calling me a fair weather fan. I know all this. And it's fun to watch because he wasn't belligerent, but he just was like, "Do you know this? Yeah. You know this?" So it was fun to watch because he is incredibly smart on baseball.
He's incredibly smart. And I think, he's one of those national treasures for you guys where you can look back and be like, John Cusack, oh yeah, like he did some cool stuff. And you're like, why was he so huge? And you're like, I'm not sure, but he was able to do it. He's just kind of one of those magical creatures. But yeah, I think his brain, obviously, like he has an incredible wit. And he wrote a lot of stuff. And
and his sister is in movies too, Joanne Cusack.
Yeah, she's so funny.
I love her in Shameless.
Yeah, she's good on Shameless. She's great on Shameless.
Shameless is great. Yeah.
So
Shameless is great. And one of his best, I would say, too, in his later stuff, Cusack, was High Fidelity, too. So incredible.
Yeah.
I just want to need to throw this out there because we're talking about the Cusacks. I met Joanne Cusack before she had just filmed My Bodyguard, her first role, and she was friends of my friend's older brother. And then I went to his house and she was there, and they gave me a ride to Summerfest.
All right.
It's amazing.
Because they were all friends because he was an older brother and they were all friends in Chicago. He was going to school.
That's cool.
Blah, blah, blah. And it was funny because the mom was like, well, you guys were, younger brother, you guys are going to Summerfest and you guys are Summerfest. And we were going to take the bus because me and my buddy Dan took the bus all the time, Dan Gore. And she's like, well, give your brother and his friend a ride. And they're just like, no, we don't want to deal with these nerds, But the mom's like, funny. Oh, you're going to the same place, so give your brother a ride. And they're like, fine, Mom. So we got to ride in the car with Joanne Cusack and the brother. And then the minute we got to Summerfest, they're like, all right, see ya, fuckers, and just ditched us.
So funny.
But at least I got to meet her and we hung out for a car ride.
You got that.
That's great.
That's my.
Are you guys keeping busy? You got lots more podcasts coming down the pipe and stuff.
We do.
Yeah, we got
man.
stuff booked tomorrow night. Yeah, we got another one tomorrow night. We got stuff booked through like the end of June now. I mean, we can only record every other week because of I have my daughter every other week. So
right. Okay.
So we'll put down like 2 or 3 the weeks that I don't have her, and then so
wicked.
I need a break.
Super sweet. If you have, I get it. He's a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm kind of thinking you two should just do a movie podcast. I'll just like direct the thing and stay out of the way.
It's amazing, man. This is fun. No, you guys is really fun. If you have any more music questions before we go, let me know. But I'll roll out soon. But,
yeah.
So I have one simple question. It's a yes or no, and if it's a no, we'll cut it before that or edit it out and everything. Do you want to grab your guitar and play a quick song? I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to do it, we'll cut it out.
I'll say no because I'm not like set up with the audio wise to do because I just have my earbuds in. It wouldn't sound right.
All right, so we'll edit that. Me even asking you out.
Okay,
and then we'll cut into like. All right, this has been great talking to you.
I do have one question, but music question before we go. because I am curious, because your latest album has some covers on it, and I've seen your Smashing Pumpkins cover on YouTube of 1979. I'm just curious, like, the hacky music question. Who are some of your bigger musical influences? Who did you grow up loving musically?
Man, I loved a lot of people that I grew up listening to. I went through a huge hip hop phase for a while, so I think that,
so because do you still have your rap skills?
I wish I did, but I do not.
Man of Steel was your.
You got it.
Yeah,
This guy does his research.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I have not flexed those skills for a long time, but I loved it. I was just a 2 tape deck guy in my bedroom where I would, sample beats from other artists and then write songs on like foolscap paper and go buck wild was the cassette at that time.
With
my friends.
That was
buck wild, and with a few friends, and we would rap and have fun. But I think hip hop, I love, like Tribe Called Quest, or earlier stuff like Run DMC, Beastie Boys, Fat Boys, LL Cool J, obviously, and all that stuff helped me. I think in terms of like words, like it was just so cool to hear how they could keep putting lyrics together and like, backing onto another one, and then like another line would start before the next one was finished, and it would all kind of tie together with the rhyming. And I think that really made me fall in love with like rhythm and rhyme. And I think those two things are key to music in any way. And it was just fun to see how, they could spin something. And the early days of hip hop, what I listened to, just like late 80s, early 90s was mostly word, like it was word based. So if you want to put down someone or make fun of an opponent or someone you were having like a battle with, they would do it mostly with words instead of like, I'm going to get my gun and, drive by in my super rich car and shoot them. It was like more, it was more intellectual. It was like, I'm going to put you down, but I'm going to do it with words, and it'd be back and forth. And I like that. And I like the ability to, in life, it's something I try and teach my daughter too, is like, use your words. Like, just let me know what you're thinking and feeling. So and then musically, as I got older, for sure, Springsteen, Born in the USA was one of the best records. Like I couldn't put that one down for many years. It was the first vinyl I got as a kid.
Nice.
And it just had hit after hit after, like every song on that record was like a hit. And it was just, later on, Wilco, Pavement, a lot of those bands, Amy Man, lots of Canadian bands too, like Stars, Broken Social Scene, Joel Plaskett, Jim Bryson, a lot of cool people have influenced me, but I think that, it's kind of morphed at different times, and I'm just always thankful to hear new music and be excited by it. Phoebe Bridgers is a new, like, younger American female artist who's incredible. She's great and amazing songwriter. So.
Have you speaking of hip hop and freestyle, have you heard of Harry Mack? Have you seen any of his videos on YouTube?
No,
he's a freestyle guy who will he just walks the street and he'll ask people for like 3 words, just kind of out of the, and he will come up with a freestyle, and he'll use those words, and he'll pick stuff off of like people's shirts and clothes and stuff, and mix that in. Dude is amazing. I mean, just I watched a podcast where he goes through how he does it and how he's processing it, and it's
before it comes out of his mouth.
Jesus Christ, it's crazy.
No clue. I was never a freestyle person. Like, I could write raps out that were okay, like they were decent enough, but I needed some time to like write them down. I don't know how people do that. Like, they can come up with stuff off the top. Like, that's a huge, crazy, like,
talent.
Genius skill. It's a huge talent.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you're a huge talent as well. What's that?
Oh, thanks, man.
Triumph.
Triumph. I mean, the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They're a Canadian band.
Oh, I was like, why is that?
Oh,
right? Triumph.
I mean,
were they not? Am I wrong?
No, they were. I'm not totally familiar with. Like, I know
Before
I can
you a little
see
bit?
the album titles. No, I can see.
He always had that
No,
V
I'm thinking
guitar. Every album like had the V
the
guitar on
V
it.
guitar. Yeah, and I'm thinking more of like Europe, like the Final Countdown.
No,
But they're American, I think.
yeah, they are. Don't try. Okay, I saw Triumph years and years ago in the
Triumph. You know, in that
70s.
same era, like I was just thinking today of how great of a band was Boston. Like Boston. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just incredible songs, and the guitars were always so, heavy and like together and stuff. And they had those cool album covers where it's like these spaceships and stuff. Like,
and every album cover had the spaceships were guitars.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They were Boston. I've seen them twice, and they were the cleanest sounding band live I've ever heard.
Wow.
Both times.
I believe it.
They're electric. Tommy Schmidt, I think I want to say, the guitarist and songwriter for it. He's all electronic. He invented the cordless guitar.
Oh, cool.
So he made all his money there. That's why he didn't care how many albums he brought out, because he invented that, and he made so much money from that he would just bring out albums when he can. But Boston's great. But I thought I just sworn Triumph was from Canada, and I remember seeing them.
They could be. They could very well be. I'm just not.
They're always the mini Rush band. They were never as big as Rush.
Yeah. Rush, of course. Like they were in every household that I knew. I mean, I kind of knew a fair amount of nerdy kids, so like Rush was just there. It's like you were playing Dungeons and Dragons and listening to Rush. That's like a lot of the nerdy kids that I knew growing up. That's what they were doing.
Well, I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up, but I don't think we were listening to Rush. So,
well, you're a nerd. Well, then you're both nerds.
I am a nerd.
I listen to. I just listen to Rush.
Yeah, we're all nerds. We're all nerds.
This is why you would so. I think if you watch anything by Dan Harmon, in fact, he put out a thing called Harmontown, which was a little movie he made about his podcast.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Dude, you would love it. I think
I'm gonna Google this guy as soon as we're done. I gotta know who this guy is.
You're gonna flip out. You'll be like, "Whoa, okay." There's some similarities for sure.
All right, we'll do that.
Well, Matty, before we let you go, tell them where they can find you. Tell them, promote anything you want to promote. And
yeah, sure. All my stuff is on the interweb. No, you can you go to gravencanada.com, Graven Canada.com, and I'm Graven Canada on all the social media, so Twitter, Instagram, at Facebook, everywhere. That's my handle. So come and say hi. I love talking to people and saying hi. And this was really great, guys. Kevin and Dean had a great time connecting with you guys, man.
Yeah, you as well. This was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Anytime.
We wouldn't have hung out so long if we didn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
man.
We'd have cut you off hours ago.
I love it. You're like, we gotta go.
You ever want to do it again? Just let us know. You got anything to promote? You want to come back? Let us know.
I would love that, man. Thank you so much, guys.
Check out Mile of Music, and I don't know how you get on, but check it out.
Mile of Music. Okay.
If you apply, or I don't know how it goes. But
I don't know, but
you would fit in perfect, and you would freaking love it.
Yeah.
Okay, man. I'm gonna check that out because I would love to get down to the States for something that would be worth it to go. So that'd be great. And I need to set it up with some other stuff. And as I said, I have some family in Chicago, and I would go there too. So
yeah, perfect.
This is great, man.
All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Pleasure meeting you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
Too.
All right,
you too.
Take care.
Much love. See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. The tavern is closed for now, but we'd love to have you back for more fun next time. Seriously though, get your asses out of here.